Continuing on, Nelly appeared on LeBron James' show, The Shop, which is like a barbershop. A lot of people sit down, talk, and new season's premiering like March 7th. So I guess tomorrow or whenever this podcast comes out, right when it comes out. And Nelly said something very interesting. He said his era of hip-hop was the toughest ever. So let's play the clip.
But you got to understand, my era of music was the toughest era in hip-hop ever. Ever. When I put out songs, I had to go against DMX,
Eminem,
Jay-Z, Eminem, Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, Luda. All of us are fighting for one spot. So from 99 to like 2008, 10, it's the hardest era ever to get records.
I agree, man. I think 2000s hip hop from whatever you want to say, 99 to 2009, whatever, 2000, 2010. That was the perfect blend of hip hop being at its peak in terms of sales and it producing the best artists, period. Think about it. Look at Billboard's top 10 list that they had for artists, or top 20, whatever. Most of them came from the 2000s, or at least the late 90s to 2000s. Now, 90s, people are saying, oh, I think 90s is more competitive. No, because 90s hip-hop didn't reach the mainstream level like 2000s hip-hop did. Yes, Pac was big. Yes, Snoop. Yes, Dre. Yes, Nas. Yes, Jay-Z. Yes, somewhat DMX, and because he was a little bit more in the later 90s. Yeah, you had artists here and there, but 2000s, everybody was selling. If you did 500,000 first week, right now that's looked at as you're a fucking goat. Back then, you did 500,000 first week, it's pretty good, not bad. That's a thumbs up, but it wasn't looked at as like. Now, if you did 6, 7, 8, okay, damn, this guy's doing it. Now you're doing 9 to 1 million. Some people, actually, no, I'm taking the million too far because only 50M and Lil Wayne did 1 million copies. Think about that. Well, Kanye got close with Graduation doing 964, but still didn't do 1 million. So only 3 artists within that 2000s did 1 million copies first week. Eminem did it twice, 50 did it once, and then Wayne did it once. So they're in the whole category. So let's just say if you did 400 to 500,000, you got a thumbs up. You're doing good. If you did 600 to 700,000, you were doing really great. If you did 800 to damn near 900,000, you were like GOAT level status. But that's the standard. Now it's like if you do 500,000, you're the GOAT. You're doing insane numbers. You're one of the best, period, out. In terms of competition, I agree. I think there is a lot more quality music than there is now. Now, people are arguing today's time, there's social media, there's the internet, anybody can release music, and you got to compete basically with the whole world because anybody can be an artist, anybody can release music. I get that, and it's harder to keep people's attention span on your music because there's so much stuff coming out every single day. So I understand that aspect of it, but the 2000s just birthed so many great artists at once. It was like, here's another one. Here's another great one. Here's another great one. South coming in. Jeezy, Gucci, T.I., West Coast. Like, just constantly fucking artists were coming out that were great. That's what I'm saying. I think the 2000s, from 2000 to 2010, greatest era ever. 90s was second to me in terms of greatest era. And then you could go to 2010, 2020, maybe 80s. I would probably put 80s as a third, then fourth, 2010 to 2020. And then the fifth, I guess you can put the rest of the years in and combine them. But that's how it goes for me. I think the 2000s was just perfection. Really, perfection. Like Cell from Dragon Ball Z, perfection. Perfect Cell. And I agree, it was the toughest. Like I said, sales, and then you got all these, like, if you just look at award shows from back then. Just look at award shows. Look at, how they present, the award shows and say best hip-hop artist, and they play the songs that are getting nominated, whatever, or the artist. Bro, everything's a fucking classic. Now, looking back on it, we listen to this music still to this day. These songs get sampled from artists to this day. That just shows you how impactful it was at the time. They're getting sampled. Like, everything that they played at these award shows was bumping. I still bump to this day. But I do have a bias towards 2000s era, but because I grew up in that era, basically. But still, regardless, I think it was the most competitive, highest in terms of peak of hip-hop and sales. Back then, people had to drive to go pick up your CD. Back then, Internet got involved a little bit later, but people had to do a lot more work to get to get a number one song on the charts to sell a lot of records. I remember Chameleon dropped The Sound of Revenge, did 100,000 first week. Not that great of numbers, right? Back then, 100,000 first week was like you flopped, basically. But throughout grinding, throughout pushing records, throughout going to radio station, promoting, next thing you know, the guy sold 2 million records on his album. That doesn't happen anymore. The work like that, people don't do it anymore. There's rarely any interviews with some artists. They'll just drop music on streaming platforms and boom, done, finished. Move on to the next project. So back then it was a lot more. You had to put your feet to the ground, go to every location, talk, shake, kiss babies and shake hands like the president, like politicians. They got to go state to state. That's what you had to do back then. Go state to state, go to these radio stations, go to these signing events, do a concert possibly, go to the next area, do the same thing over and over again. Let the people feel you, touch you, hear about you. Now, man, artists don't be doing that shit. They don't, which sucks, and it's unfortunate. But I agree with Nelly wholeheartedly.